الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولله المشرق والمغرب فأينما تولوا فثم وجه الله إن الله واسع عليم صدق الله العظيم. Regarding ayat number 115 of Surat al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that أَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. Anywhere you turn, you'll find the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The literal translation. This discussion first and foremost regarding locating Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One thing should be understood. We have gone over some of this discussion. Just one point and then inshallah we will continue. Otherwise there are many books of hikmah and kalam that you can read, the books of theology and wisdom that get into this discussion. But as believers, what we know, makhlooq, as creation, this creation, it has limits. And whatever creation is there, what we understand is that there is obviously the greatest or the biggest creation in our sense of size. When you get to size, the biggest creation that we know in this domain, in this universe, the biggest creation that we know is the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this time. After this time, obviously Jannah, and then you get into that. But what we understand in this universal domain is that as far as size goes, so the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is the most massive and magnificent creation that we believers have been told about. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us about the heavens and the earth. When he went on the night journey, the Isra and Mi'raj, the night journey, and then he ascended to the heavens. So he gave a description of this universe. First he gave a description of this earth and where the earth is. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was taken on an animal known as Buraq. And all of this happened, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was witnessing this. Buraq is a creature and a creation from Jannah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent. And it took Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam on this night journey. سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى. It was a night journey. And there's a lengthy hadith about it. Quite a few hadith regarding it. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he went from this earth to the top of Sama'ud Dunya. This heaven where the earth is. This is called Sama'ud Dunya. Everything within Sama'ud Dunya that we know, that is the observable universe that we can see. All of these stars and whatever planets and asteroids and whatever is out there that we have observed, this is part of just the first heaven. These stars are in this heaven. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, وَزَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحَ وَحِفْظًا. We have beautified the heaven where this earth is with masabih, with these massive stars, massive lanterns, and hifdha, and they're also used for protection. A unique star defense system. better than any laser guided system we have. That's a whole different kind of system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. And this system is a means of protection against any creation, and particularly the jinn, who try and steal information from the malaika or try to take some kind of information from the malaika. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created a target system that shoots them down. That's a discussion for another time when we get to those ayat. So everything that is in the observable universe, this is sama'ud dunya. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam went to the gates of the second heaven, and he was given permission to go into the second heaven, so he looked down at the first heaven, and he gave the example that the first heaven to the second heaven was like a bayda to a desert, the egg compared to a desert. The other narration uses the term a ring to a desert. So how much space an egg will take in comparison to a massive desert. So this is just the first heaven compared to the second heaven. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam went to the third heaven, and the description of the second heaven was given like an egg to a desert in comparison to the third heaven. And so on and so forth up until the seventh heaven. So the sixth heaven in comparison to the seventh heaven was like an egg compared to a desert. On top of the seventh heaven there is a body of water, an ocean of water. Also distances are also understood. To get from this earth just to the second heaven, the gates of the second heaven, which is this first heaven, the journey of 500 years. Not 500 of our years. We haven't even reached light speed yet. Now they're talking about that the star, closest star, Andromeda, it is 9.3 trillion light years away, or whatever billion light years away. And one light year is how many trillions of miles? How they give these calculations. And so when you're looking at the stars, technically you're looking in the past, because by the time the light reaches our eyes, how many distances has covered. So that is the distance of speed of light. The word buraq, the animal that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was taken on, this name itself means a creature faster than light. Barq is lightning or light speed. Buraq is that creature that broke the speed of light. We don't know anything faster than the speed of light. They are talking about quantum time and talking about time, that time is faster than light and whatever, but you get into a very, very theoretical argument once you get past the speed of light, which travels around the world 7.5 times in a second. Anyhow, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was taken. He was given the distance from every heaven, from the second heaven to the third heaven, 500-year journey, third to the fourth 500-year journey. And giving these kind of distances. Above the seventh heaven there's a body, an ocean of water. It's a massive ocean of water. And the seventh heaven compared to that ocean of water is like an egg compared to a desert. From the bottom of that ocean to the top of that ocean, one narration says 500-year journey, next one says 700-year journey. How much water there is. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Anbiya, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. We created every living thing from water. So NASA says where there is water, there is life. Or these scientists say this now. Copyrighted right out of the Quran. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this creation from water, from that ocean. On top of that ocean of water, there are the angels that hold up the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're known as Hamilin al-Arsh. There are 8 angels that are Hamilin al-Arsh. They are the angels that hold up the Arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The leader of these 8 angels is Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam. And he took this journey with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Right on top of these 8 angels of Hamilin al-Arsh, there is a tree. That tree is called Sidratul Muntaha, which in terms of translation means the farthest distance any creation can get. Muntaha, the farthest you can go. The Jalliyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come on that tree. There's no real translation for the Jalliyat. I don't know how you can. The grandeur and the splendor and whatever of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shines on that tree. This was the distance that Jibreel alayhi salam could go. And this was also the distance that Buraq could go. So Jibreel alayhi salam told Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that we can't even go close to this tree. If we go beyond this point, so we'll be burned by the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because that is where the arsh starts. Everything that we have described up until now, this is the heavens and the earth. Within this heaven. All of this in comparison to just the kursi of Allah, again like an egg in a desert. وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. What is the kursi of Allah? How is the kursi of Allah? Beyond explanations. Then again, the kursi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one of the treasures of the arsh. What is the size of the arsh? Now you got out of size and distance and space. So this is the most magnificent creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are some treasures that have been given to us believers from that arsh. Ayatul Kursi is a treasure of the arsh. The last two ayat of Surat al-Baqarah are a treasure from the arsh, and so on and so forth. There are many ayat and other surahs in the Quran that are treasures from the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is clear is that the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the farthest that we as human beings can even imagine. You can't even get to the imagination of the arsh. This is what is considered creation. Now when we say Ar-Rahmanu ala al-Arsh istawa, again in those ayat, when you take in context, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established the system of His creation, and He established the Arsh. And He is above and beyond the Arsh, which means that He is above and beyond the creation. He's not affected by His creation. Whatever the creation does, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in no way affected by His creation. Nor does He need His creation in any way. Someone might ask, well, if He doesn't need His creation, then what's the point of creating all this creation? Yes, the creation, everything within the creation. And that is again a unique discussion in itself. Why the creation was created. This is a display of the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wanted to display His sifat. He wanted to display His qualitative attributes, His names and beautiful attributes. So He created creation and displayed those attributes. We've only been given the 99 sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Asma'ul Husna that we know. And these are taken from the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, from Quran and Sunnah. But if you read Quran and Sunnah, you find that there are 100 and when you read the Quran and the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there are a total of 153 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, the discussion of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's for another time. But this creation is a display of the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the beautiful attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in particular, the sifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ar-Rahman. For those who understand the Arabic language, this name has such depth in meaning that just to understand the depth of this meaning, one has to really think of the whole of creation. Now what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, and then He displayed His rahmah. And the display of that rahmah to the most extreme form of His sifa Ar-Rahman. Very difficult concept, and that's something that is so deep that when you start to discuss it, you realize why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala named the whole surah after this sifa and explain how much in that surah, Surah Ar-Rahman. But everything that we know within creation is a display of the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ أَنَّهُ الْحَقِّ. Very soon we'll show them signs in the horizon. We'll show them our ayat, our signs in the horizons. And even within themselves. Until they reach this conclusion that definitely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He exists. That He is the ultimate truth. So in everything that you see, there are signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The very famous poet wrote, وَفِي كُلِّ شَيْءٍ آيَةٌ تَدُلُّ عَلَىٰ أَنَّهُ وَاحِدٌ. And in everything there is a sign guiding you and showing you and proving to you that He is one and unique. So in this ayah, ayat number 115, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, أَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. Anywhere you turn, you find the wajh of Allah. you find signs of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another meaning to this ayah also, the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That everything in creation belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why this ayah number 115, it starts with وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala belongs the east and the west. So anywhere you turn, all these directions and everything in the creation belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is His kingdom. Wajh, coming to face. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has told us about a few particular parts, or you can say portions of understanding that we human beings, especially believers or those that read the Quran, may be able to get an idea, some very, very deep concepts from some of these words. Many times they're not to be taken literally, but they are for our understanding. The ulama throughout history and throughout the ages have made one thing very clear, that when it comes to the Dhat of Allah, there are two things. One is the Sifat of Allah, and one is the Dhat of Allah. The Sifat means the qualitative attributes, so you can have a detailed discussion about these attributes. When it comes to the Dhat, the actual existence and the being of Allah, the Dhat of Allah, that's where we stop. And there are numerous ahadith, numerous incidents. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam came into the masjid, and there was a group of Sahaba, they were sitting down and they were having a discussion, but they were also in deep thought. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam asked them what they were doing, and they said that we are contemplating and pondering on the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also pondering how merciful He has been to us and how ungrateful we are, how we need to be more grateful. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told them that I encourage you to do this, but do not think of the Dhat of Allah. Don't contemplate on the being of Allah. That's where people get lost. This is not something that we may be able to understand. In the ayat of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses a few phrases related to His Dhat, to His being. One of those is wajh. I'll go over just most of them that are mentioned in the Quran. We have the wajh, which is mentioned here. أَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. Anywhere you turn, in any direction you turn, you find the face of Allah. The literal translation of wajh means face. In other ayat of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also uses a different phrase, that مَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّ أَجَلَ اللَّهِ لَآتٍ. For those who want to meet with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that meeting time will come close. But throughout the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the phrase ibtigha'a wajhillah. That those believers who are seeking the meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ibtigha'a, in essence they are seeking the wajh of Allah, the face of Allah. And I'll come back to this, what the ulama and the mufassirin have said about this. In another ayah in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about His yad, His hand. Yadullahi fawqa aydihim. The hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was over their hand. In other ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about His right hand. قَبْضَتُهُ وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْأَرْضُ جَمِيعًا قَبْضَتُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. That the heavens will be in the complete grasp of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ مَطْوِيَّاتٌ بِيَمِينِهِ. And the heavens will be rolled up in His right hand. In other ayat of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about saq. يَوْمَ يُكْشَفُ عَنْ سَاقٍ وَيُدْعَوْنَ إِلَى السُّجُودِ فَلَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ. The literal translation of saq is shin. We're only talking about literal translations. We're not going to go into the depth of them. Our aqidah and our belief, very clear, is that there are ayat in the Quran, phrases in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He has revealed to us. And He has made it clear to us that these are things that are beyond our understanding. And these ayat are amongst the ayatul mutashabihat. those verses where the meaning is not made clear to us. And for those who are seeking the wisdom behind why, the Quran, one of the miracles of the Quran, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us about many miracles of the Quran. One of the miracles of the Quran is that this Quran will never stop amazing the ulama and scholars. That even those who have very deep knowledge of Quran and Sunnah, the Quran will continue to amaze them. Another thing is the tafseer of the Quran, the deep understanding of the Quran. It will take much more than human history to be able to fully understand it. The miracle of the Quran being a kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran being a word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is not a creation. So just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is infinite. So the tafsir of the Quran and the depth of the Quran also has very infinite meanings and very deep meanings. For that, you have to go to a time that is infinite. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept certain verses of the Quran, has kept certain words and ayat in the Quran, a secret in this time, in this world, so that in Jannah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give the tafsir of these words, phrases and ayat Himself. That is another miracle of the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us a chance to be in Jannah, to really understand what these mean. So that is the wisdom behind why there are verses that are mutashabihat. So that we believers, we understand the concept of tawadu', of humbleness, that we do not let our knowledge destroy us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Ali Imran, He tells us about ayatum mutashabihat, that there are verses in the Quran where the meaning is not clear. The meaning is ambiguous. We've not been given any clear meaning. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that when it comes to these kinds of verses, there's only two reactions you can have. One reaction, فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ. As for those who have rust in their hearts, a kind of disease of nifaq or hypocrisy. So what is their reaction? فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ ابْتِغَاءَ الْفِتْنَةِ وَابْتِغَاءَ تَأْوِيلِهِ. So they seek to try and create discord in seeking out the meaning of these kind of verses. And with this they try to say that certain scholar is not a scholar because his meaning is wrong. Certain scholar didn't understand this, so he's wrong. And they go about creating this kind of discord. That's one reaction. The second reaction, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. Those who have really gone very, very far and very deep in their knowledge. So what is their reaction? يَقُولُونَ آمَنَّا بِهِ. They say, we definitely believe in all of these. كُلٌّ مِّنْ عِنْدِ رَبِّنَا. They're from our Rabb. We believe in them. And we stop it there. We don't try to go into the depth of the meaning of how it is and what it is. Here in this ayah, and we will try our best to just give an understanding that the ulama have said that when it comes to wajh, when it comes to face, only one phrase of the face can be explained and we don't explain the rest of it. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, ابْتِغَاءَ وَجْهِ اللَّهِ, that they're seeking the face of Allah, here means the pleasure of Allah. Because when you want to make someone happy with you, so you try to seek out the happiness on their face, the pleasure on their face. So seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the only meaning that we can find for that one phrase. As far as in any direction, this verse here, in any direction you turn, you will find the face of Allah. This also tells us that there are two forms of ibadah. There are those ibadat in fiqh that have limitation, space and time. For example, salah. Salah has a time. Inna salata kanat ala al-mu'minina kitaban mawquta. The fard salah has a time. It has a system. You have to face the qibla, you have to do qiyam, ruku, sajda, etc. So salah has its own conditions. It has its own limitations. You cannot pray facing in any direction. Yes, from this ayah there is one fiqh, one specific ruling that can be taken, that in a condition, in a situation where you cannot pray salah facing qibla, maybe you don't know the direction or the conditions are such that you cannot make it to face the qibla, so then you pray salah. You cannot face the Kaaba, Baytullah, so then you pray salah facing any direction. It's fine. Your salah is done. That is one mas'ala in the books of fiqh. I'll give you a simple example, like when you're flying nowadays in the airplane. Okay, in the aeroplane it becomes very difficult. Sometimes you have a long flight. It becomes very difficult to find a place to pray salah. You can't even stand up. And if you try to stand, there might be other problems. Right? So now you have to pray salah, time of salah. First finding where is qibla. Even you have it on your map, and the plane is going this way and the qibla is this way. How are you going to face this way? It becomes very difficult. But at least fuqaha have given that in that type of situation, because even fulfilling the conditions of salah become difficult. But one fard of salah is the time of salah. So pray salah in your seat, doesn't matter which direction you face. And there's also a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, an incident where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam prayed his nafil salah even on his animal, on his ride, to show that in a situation where it may become difficult, so we can extract from that in a situation where it's almost impossible to stand up and face the Kaaba, so you can face in any direction because you're worshipping Allah, you're not worshipping someone or something else. So in that case, yes, in any direction you face, so you will find the presence of Allah, if your niyyah is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there are ibadat also that do not have time, that do not have these kind of conditions. You can make them in any condition, you can face in any direction. One is the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no conditions. You can do the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any condition. Yes, it is preferable that you are in a state of tahara, but even that, you can do dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any condition. The second is dua. You can make dua in any condition. And there are other ayah for every condition. Yes, there is a form that we know in dua, taken from the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You raise your hands, you have tawadu, humbleness, and you make dua. Yes, that is if you're able to. But there were many other ayah that were made where there's not even that situation or that condition where you can even raise your hand. Again, which way do you face? There is no direction to face in dua. Yes, it's preferable to face the Kaaba Baytullah. But the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, many times, he didn't face the Kaaba even. So this also, any direction you face, you'll find the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is also for dua. In any condition, in any situation, we always get into this argument. Okay, which dua is accepted? The most accepted dua is when your heart is connected, and then your dua is accepted. It has no other condition. There's a main condition. Even the dua of a mushrik, of a disbeliever, of a kafir, in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that in those conditions, when all hope is lost and they turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they connect to Allah, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will even accept their dua. In not one place, few places in the Quran. فَإِذَا رَكِبُوا فِي الْفُلْكِ, then when they ride on the ships, دَعَوُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ, they make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with very sincere, very sincere dua. Either there's a storm, their lives are in danger, in the middle of the night they don't know where they are, or if nothing else there's coronavirus on a cruise ship. Then really that sincerity comes out, Allah. Then they make dua. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us. I know I said it in a joking manner, but the reality is that when the adhab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes, you can't escape anywhere. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from this punishment. So yes, in that situation, when you become sincere, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us very clearly in the Quran, فَلَمَّا نَجَّاهُمْ, the fa means immediately. Then immediately when we save them, إِلَى الْبَرِّ, and we bring them safely to land, إِذَا هُمْ يُشْرِكُونَ, they go back to doing shirk. Which means these people didn't even believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they fulfilled the one condition of dua. And what was that condition? دَعَوُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. They made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, very great sincerity. They cut themselves off from everything. And that is the main condition. Even in the very early verses, the very first verses that were revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was told about this. وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ وَتَبَتَّلْ إِلَيْهِ تَبْتِيلًا, in Surah Al-Muzammil. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ, and take the name of your Rabb, say Allah. وَتَبَتَّلْ إِلَيْهِ تَبْتِيلًا, and cut yourself off from everything. Complete concentration, devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you'll see how your dua will be accepted. So this is also one of the meanings. فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. In any direction you face, you'll find the face of Allah, which means you'll find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will definitely respond to your dua. And this is also a continuation of the very verse, the ayah in Surat Al-Baqarah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. That when my servants ask you about me, O Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ, then I'm very near. أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِي. I respond to the dua of that da'i, of that person calling me, making dua to me. إِذَا دَعَانِي, whenever he makes dua to me. إِذَا, whenever and however, in whatever condition he makes dua to me, I respond. So this is also that you do not have to try to find that where is Allah so that how I can, or what is his special phone number or text that I can text him. No, for Allah, just make dua. If you can make dua with your hands and you can really raise your hands, according to the sunnah, do it. If you cannot, make it with your tongue. And if you cannot even do it with the words, talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows the secrets of the hearts. I know I'm a little past the time, but the time of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, there was a drought. So it is a sunnah of the Anbiya alayhimus salam that when there is a drought, so you gather the people and you do what is called Salatul Istisqa. Salatul Istisqa is a salah that you make during a drought seeking rain. You make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for rain. So Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, he gathered the Bani Israel and he made a dua for rain. When he made a dua for rain, now this is Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. In the ayat of the Quran, the kind of du'as that Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam made are legendary. And there are some things that are just legendary. Musa alayhi salam, some of his du'as, subhanallah, if you study the du'as of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, his du'as are legendary. There's no other way to describe the kind of du'as that he has made. Amazing dua. So much so that he even said, oh Allah, show me yourself, I want to see you. I don't know if I would ever be brave enough to make that kind of dua. But he had this much, the kind of du'as he made, amazing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not even reject that dua. None of his du'as were ever rejected. So Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, he gathered the Bani Israel, he made dua for rain. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, oh Musa, I am not going to accept your dua in this condition. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam became scared. He said, oh Allah, what sin have I committed? What have I done? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, oh Musa, not you, but in your gathering of all these people you have gathered, there is one person who has committed such a sin that because of that sin, I'm not even going to accept your dua in favor of rain. Can you imagine what a sinner this person must have been? So Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, he used to have a very short temper. He turned around. He said, whoever that man is, get up and leave right now. You know, my dua is not accepted. Who are you? What kind of sin have you committed? Get up and leave. He made the announcement once, no one moved. You know, everyone was. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, he made the announcement again a second time. He said, whoever that person is, show yourself or I'll make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exposes you. Get up and leave right now. Nobody left. The third time Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam made the announcement, it started raining. So Musa alayhi salam, he became surprised. He said, oh Allah, nobody left and you brought rain. What happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, oh Musa, when you made the announcement the first time, so this man in his heart, he made a dua that, oh Allah, if I stand up, I'm going to be exposed now. And oh Allah, you have covered that sin. It's between you and me. And oh Allah, you're the only one who can forgive me. Oh Allah, don't embarrass me today. He said that in his heart. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, he said, oh Allah, who is this person? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I forgave him and I brought the rain. But I didn't tell you who he was when he was a sinner. What makes you think I'm going to expose him to you now? That he has become my beloved. So never underestimate the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you can make dua with your tongue, so make it. If not, talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your heart. Because the language of the heart, even the angels don't understand. That's very deep. That is between you and Allah. So really talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you'll find Him that anywhere you turn, you'll find Allah then. Yes, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding and give all of us the tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالقرآن وزين أخلاقنا بالقرآن ونجنا من النار بالقرآن وادخلنا في الجنة بالقرآن. اللهم اجعل القرآن لنا في الدنيا قرينا وفي القبر مونسا وعلى الصراط نورا وفي الجنة رفيقا ومن النار سترا وحجابا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.